I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 10 years now. We got married young, built a life together, had dreams, plans, the whole package. She always seemed like the perfect wife, beautiful, smart, a little snappy sometimes, but that was just Lisa being Lisa. I trusted her completely, or at least I thought I did. At the beginning, everything seemed fine. We'd come home from work, cook dinner together, watch TV, argue about nothing and everything, normal stuff. But over the past few months, something changed. I started noticing little things. She was more secretive with her phone, always hiding it when I came into the room. She'd get defensive if I asked who she was texting, and her phone kept getting password protected, which was weird because she never used to do that. She'd also start going out more often without telling me where she was going, just meeting a friend or running errands. But her stories didn't add up. One night I came home early from work because I wasn't feeling great. I decided to surprise her, see if she was home. When I got to the house, I noticed her car was gone, but her purse was still on the table. That struck me as odd. I looked around and found her jewelry box. I've never really paid much attention to her jewelry box before, honestly. It was just a place she kept her necklaces and earrings. But that night, something made me open it. Maybe it was a gut feeling or just curiosity. I never expected what I was about to find. Hidden underneath her necklaces and inside a small, secret compartment I didn't even know existed, I found a tiny, folded piece of paper. I unfolded it carefully, expecting maybe a receipt or a note from a friend, but what I saw made my stomach drop. It was a message, a confession in a way. It was from her, from Lisa, and it wasn't innocent. It was about her meeting someone named Chris. She was explicitly talking about sex, about how amazing it was, how she couldn't believe she was doing this, lying to me, sneaking around. I couldn't believe my eyes. That moment felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I sat there in shock, holding that piece of paper, feeling like my world was shattering. How could she betray me after everything? After all the years, the vows, the memories. It wasn't just some fling. She was actively cheating on me, lying to my face, hiding it in her jewelry box like it was some secret treasure. I could feel my hands trembling, my mind racing. I knew I had to confront her, but I wasn't ready. Not yet. The thing is, Lisa's not a stupid girl. She's bitchy, yes, but she's also cunning. I knew she'd deny everything if I brought it up. Still, I had to try. I waited for her to come home that evening, heart pounding. When she walked in, she immediately sensed something was off. Her eyes darted around and she smirked a little too much. "Hey," she said, tossing her purse onto the table. "You look like you've seen a ghost. What's wrong?" I looked her straight in the eyes, trying to keep my voice steady. "Lisa, I found something today, something I wasn't supposed to see. About you, about us." Her face shifted instantly, her smirk fading. "What are you talking about?" I took out the note from my pocket, unfolded it, and placed it on the table. Her eyes flicked to it, and I saw her jaw tighten. That's when she started to lie again. She told me she didn't know what it was, that it was just a joke, a fake, or a mistake. She said she was drunk, that she didn't mean anything, that it was all meaningless. But I wasn't buying it. I could see right through her. That night she kept changing her story, first denying, then conceding, then crying, then yelling. She told me I was overreacting, that it was just sex, that it didn't mean anything. But how could it not mean anything when she was talking about another man like that? She's the kind of girl who's bitchy, yes, but she's also manipulative. She knows how to spin things, how to make herself look innocent. But I saw her for what she was, a lying, cheating bitch. I felt a mix of anger, heartbreak, and confusion. I never thought she'd do this to me, not after all we built. It was like the foundation of my life was crumbling beneath my feet. I couldn't sleep that night, replaying everything in my head. I didn't even know if I wanted to confront her again or just walk away. But I knew one thing for sure: I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Not after she lied so easily, so callously. I needed a plan. I needed to know exactly how deep this went, and I needed to decide what my next move was. That's when I started digging, looking for more clues. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I couldn't ignore what I'd found. I checked her phone, her social media, her emails. And that's when I found out the truth was even worse than I thought. There was more than just one message, more than just that note. She'd been sneaking around for months and my brother Jake was involved. That's right, my own blood. My brother, I couldn't believe it. The betrayal cut even deeper. How could she do this to me, to us? I felt like I was living in some twisted nightmare, and I had no idea how to wake up from it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing on her phone. I looked through her messages, her social media, everything I could find. And the more I dug, the worse it got. I found texts between her and Jake, my brother, more than just innocent chats. They were explicit, full of plans, sneaking around, talking about secret meetings. I mean, I knew they'd been close, but I never thought it would go this far. I even found photos, some from her phone, some from even earlier when she thought no one was looking. Pictures of her in bed with him, their faces close, bed rumpled and messy, like they'd been doing it for a while. My stomach twisted. How long had this been going on? Months? Years? I stared at those photos, feeling like my insides were turning to stone. My wife Lisa had been lying to me for so long, and my own brother, my own flesh and blood, was involved. That thought alone made me want to throw up. I couldn't process it all at once. The betrayal was so raw, so intense, I felt like I was drowning. I remember the moment I finally broke down and called her. I didn't want to do it, but I knew I had to face her. When she answered, her voice sounded normal, calm, a little annoyed, like I was bothering her. I told her to come home, that I needed to talk face to face. When she arrived, I was already waiting in the living room, trembling, fists clenched. She looked at me, smirking that bitchy smirk she always wore when she thought she was in control. "Now what?" she snapped, crossing her arms. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I didn't hold back. I threw the phone on the table, showing her all the messages, the photos, everything. This is what I found. Tell me, Lisa. Are you cheating on me with Jake? Because that's exactly what this looks like." She froze, her eyes wide for half a second, then she quickly recovered her composure. That smug look returned as she shrugged. "Look, Jake, you're overreacting. It's just sex. It doesn't mean anything. We're both adults. We're just having fun. Besides, I don't owe you an explanation for every damn thing I do." Her words hit me like a punch. She was dismissing it all like it was some trivial thing, like I was supposed to just accept it. I felt so furious, so betrayed, I didn't even know what to say. I wanted to scream, to shout at her that she was a lying bitch, that she destroyed everything we'd built. But instead, I just stared at her, feeling the tears welling up, knowing I'd never see her the same way again. She kept spinning her lies, saying it was just a mistake, that she was drunk, that she loved me but needed to feel alive. I swear, her words sounded so rehearsed. It was like she'd been practicing her lies in front of a mirror. I wanted to believe her, I really did, but the images, the messages, they told a different story. I've been with her through so much, her bitchy attitude, her sharp tongue, her manipulative side, but this was a whole new level of betrayal. I looked her in the eyes and told her I was done. I told her I couldn't trust her anymore, that she'd shattered whatever little piece of me was holding on. She just shrugged again, like I was some inconvenience. She didn't seem sorry, not really. And that hurt even more. I thought I knew her, thought I knew everything about her, but it turns out she was just hiding all this from me. The worst part was how calm she was about all of it. No tears, no remorse, just that bitchy smirk. She kept telling me I was overreacting, that I was jealous, that I was insecure. Like I was the crazy one for catching her cheating and Jake. I kept thinking, how could she be so callous, so manipulative? I'd always been the one to provide, to protect her, and here she was, betraying me with my own brother. I felt a burning rage inside, an urge to do something, anything, to make her pay for this mess she'd made. But what could I do? Confront her, break her stuff, call my brother and yell at him? I was so overwhelmed I just stared at her, trying to hold back the storm of emotions. I knew I couldn't stay in this house anymore, not with her. But I also knew walking away wouldn't be easy, not after everything. The trust was gone, and I could feel the coldness creeping in. I realized I had to come up with a plan. I couldn't just let her walk all over me, not after this. I needed to think, to figure out how to deal with her lies, her manipulation, and most of all, how to deal with the fact that my own brother, my blood, had betrayed me that deeply. It felt like my entire world was falling apart piece by piece, and I had no choice but to face what came next. And trust me, I was just getting started. The days that followed were a blur of anger, confusion, and a deep, gnawing sense of betrayal. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat properly. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lisa's smug face, heard her dismissive words, and the pictures of her with Jake kept flashing through my mind. It was like I was living in some messed-up nightmare I couldn't wake up from. The feeling of betrayal was so raw I could barely breathe. I kept asking myself how she could do this, to me, to our marriage, to her own family. I knew I had to get to the bottom of it. She was lying so effortlessly, twisting everything, trying to turn me into the bad guy. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. I started digging even deeper into her phone, her email, every little corner of her digital life I access. I needed proof, solid proof, so I could finally see the full scope of her lies. That's when I stumbled across more messages from her to Jake, and surprisingly to another guy I didn't even know about. Her secret life was bigger than I expected. One night I found a string of messages from her to this guy named Mark. They'd been talking for months. She was planning to meet him, saying how she needed something new, how she was so tired of Jake, and that sex with him was too boring. I felt like my stomach was dropping out of my body. All that shit about being overworked and stressed was just cover stories. She was actively seeking out new men behind my back, and apparently she was good at hiding it. I couldn't believe how much she lied, about who she was, what she wanted, about everything. She'd spun me a web of bullshit for years, and I was just now starting to see it. The rage inside me boiled over. I wanted to confront her again, but I knew that wouldn't be enough. I needed something more concrete, something she couldn't deny, so I decided I'd gather all the evidence I could find. I printed out the messages, the photos, everything I had uncovered. I kept it all in a folder, a kind of insurance policy. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet, whether I'd confront her again or just walk away, but I needed to be ready. I wasn't going to let her turn this around on me. She'd already lied so much. I refused to be her victim anymore. Meanwhile, she kept up her act, acting like everything was fine, like I was just overthinking things. She'd make snide comments, throw little digs, trying to gaslight me into thinking I was crazy. She told me I was paranoid, that I was imagining things. But I knew better now. I knew she was lying, sneaking around, betraying me with everyone she could find. The worst part was how natural she made her lies seem, how she could turn on the charm when she wanted to, then switch to bitchy, dismissive mode when she thought I wasn't paying attention. One night, I caught her trying to delete some messages. She was frantically scrolling through her phone, trying to erase something. I saw her face go pale when I looked over her shoulder. I asked her what she was hiding, and she snapped at me, called me crazy, said I was just jealous. That was her favorite line. You're just jealous because I still look good, or you're insecure. Yeah, right, I wasn't jealous, I was furious. Hurt, broken, and furious. I decided I had to confront her again. I waited until she was in the shower, then I took her phone and read her messages in secret. That's when I realized the extent of her lies. She was planning to leave, to run off with Jake and maybe even Mark. She'd already made up her mind, and I was just a pawn in her game. I felt helpless but also furious that she thought she could just cheat her way out of this mess. That night, I finally sat her down and told her I knew everything. I laid out all the evidence, the messages, the photos, the lies. She stared at me, her bitchy smirk gone, replaced by a cold stare. She tried to deny it again, claiming I was crazy, that I was accusing her of something she didn't do. But I had. Enough now. I saw through her bullshit. I told her I was done playing her game. I told her I was leaving, that I couldn't stay with someone who lied so effortlessly, who used me so callously. Her reaction was classic Lisa, smirking, dismissive, trying to manipulate me into feeling guilty. She accused me of being paranoid, said I was insecure, that I just didn't want her to have any fun. I knew deep down she was trying to justify her actions, to make herself look innocent. But I saw her for what she was, a bitchy, manipulative woman who'd betrayed her vows, her family, and her own integrity. That night I made my decision. I was done. I packed a bag, left her house, and never looked back. It hurt like hell, more than I can put into words, but I knew I had to get out before I lost myself completely. The trust was shattered, and I realized that some betrayals are so deep, they can't be fixed. Sometimes you just have to walk away, no matter how much it hurts. And honestly, I didn't know if I'd ever trust anyone again after this. Whatever I do next, I know one thing: I won't let anyone lie and cheat their way into my life again. The aftermath hit me harder than I expected. I left her house that night with nothing but my clothes and that folder of evidence I'd collected. I didn't even bother to say goodbye. Part of me wanted to break something, scream at her, yell at Jake, but I knew that wouldn't fix anything. All it would do is make me feel worse. I just drove away, feeling empty, numb, like some part of me was already dead inside. For the first few days, I stayed with a friend. I couldn't face my own apartment, not yet. It was too full of memories: her scent, her things, the little trinkets she'd given me over the years. I kept staring at her jewelry box, remembering how I'd opened it that night and found her dirty secret. I kept thinking about all the lies she told, how she'd manipulated me for so long. It's amazing how you can live with someone for so many years, only to realize they've been lying to your face the whole time. I kept reviewing the evidence, trying to make sense of it all. Every message, every photo, every lie, a tangled web that she spun so effortlessly. I was mourning what I thought was a happy life, a future I'd imagined, now shattered into pieces. I felt angry, but mostly I just felt betrayed. Betrayed by her, by Jake, by myself for not seeing it sooner. How could I have been so blind? How could I have believed in her so blindly? Then came the wave of sadness, the kind that hits when you realize someone you loved was capable of such cold betrayal. I kept thinking about all the moments we shared, the promises, the "I love yous." Were they all just lies? Did she ever really love me? Or was I just convenient? That thought haunted me. I wondered if I was just some fool to her, someone she kept around until she found someone better or more exciting. The sting of that realization was almost unbearable. I kept asking myself what I had done wrong, but honestly, I knew deep down it wasn't about me. She was the one who lied. She was the one who cheated. I was just the fool who didn't see it coming. It's a brutal truth, sometimes, no matter how good you are to someone, they can turn out to be the biggest betrayal of your entire life. I guess I had to accept that she was just not the person I thought she was. I decided I couldn't keep living like this, dwelling in the sadness and anger. I had to do something. I had to reclaim my life. I thought about going to the police, but honestly, I wasn't sure what good that would do. It wasn't about pressing charges, it was about the principle, about holding her accountable. But more than that, I needed to get away from her, from the lies, from the memories that haunted me. So I made a plan. I found a new place to stay, something small, cheap, but far enough away. I started focusing on myself, working out, going back to old hobbies I'd abandoned, trying to rebuild who I was. It's crazy how much of your identity gets wrapped up in a relationship. When she betrayed me, I felt like I'd lost myself entirely. But slowly I realized I still had a choice. I could let this destroy me, or I could use it as a wake-up call. One of the hardest parts was the silence. No more calls, no more texts, nothing from her. I knew she'd try to contact me, but I wasn't ready to hear her lies again. I didn't want to be manipulated anymore. I needed space to breathe, to figure out what I truly wanted. Honestly, I felt like I was grieving the death of the life I thought I had. It was a long, painful process, but I knew I had to go through it to come out the other side. Every day, I reminded myself I deserved better. I deserved honesty, loyalty, respect, things she clearly didn't give me. I kept thinking about how I'd been so blind, how I'd trusted her with everything. But I also knew that forgiving her, or even trying to work things out, was impossible at this point. She'd shown her true colors, and I couldn't ignore that. I didn't want to waste another second feeling sorry for myself or hoping she'd change. It's strange how life throws you these curveballs. One minute you're living in a bubble of happiness, the next everything's shattered. But I guess that's what makes you stronger, when you pick yourself up after being knocked down. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I know I won't let her betrayal define me. I've got to rebuild, to trust again, maybe someday, with someone who deserves my honesty and respect. But for now, I'm just focusing on healing, on learning to trust myself again after all this. It's been a few weeks since I left her house, and honestly, the pain hasn't fully gone away, but I feel like I'm starting to breathe again. The anger is still there, simmering just beneath the surface, but I'm learning to manage it. Every day is a battle, some days worse than others, but I keep telling myself I did the right thing. I didn't deserve to be toyed with, lied to, betrayed by the woman I loved, and definitely not by my own brother. I've been going to therapy, trying to unpack all of this mess. It helps to talk to someone who isn't emotionally involved, someone who can give me some perspective. I realized I'd been suppressing so much of my feelings, trying to keep everything together for her for the sake of our marriage. But the truth is, I was just fooling myself, holding all. That inside was slowly destroying me. Now I'm learning to accept what's happened piece by piece. One thing I've come to understand is that Lisa's bitchiness, her manipulativeness, and her ability to lie so effortlessly, those aren't just flaws. They're part of a pattern. She's always been good at hiding her true self. I just never wanted to see it because I loved her so much. But love isn't enough when there's betrayal on this level. It's like I was living in a fantasy, and now I have to face the cold, harsh reality of what she really was. I've also started reaching out to some friends and family. Some of them knew about her temper, her sharp tongue, but none of them knew about her cheating. It's been a relief to tell someone, to let it all out. I never wanted to be that guy who drags all his dirty laundry out, but I needed support. I needed to hear that I wasn't crazy, that I deserved better. The funny thing is, most of them just told me to focus on myself, that I needed to heal, find happiness again, and forget her. That advice, as simple as it sounds, is harder than it looks, trust me. There are moments when I wake up and feel like I've got a hole in my chest, like I've lost everything I once believed in. But then I remember that I'm still here, still standing. That's a victory in itself. I realize I've been holding on to the hope that she'd change, that maybe, just maybe, she'd come back and confess everything. But deep down, I know that's not going to happen. People don't change overnight, especially when they're this manipulative. I've started to think about what I want moving forward. Do I try to rebuild my life? Do I cut all ties with her and Jake forever? Honestly, I'm leaning toward cutting ties. I don't see any point in trying to save what's already broken beyond repair. I want to focus on myself, on my own happiness. Maybe I'll even date again someday, but right now, I just want to be single for a while, figure out who I am without her in my life. And then there's the anger. I still get angry when I think about how easily she lied, how she used me, how she played both me and Jake like puppets. That anger fuels me, honestly. It's a reminder that I deserve better, that I won't let anyone manipulate me like that again. I'm tired of feeling like a fool, a sucker. I want to be cautious now, more aware of the red flags I ignored before. I've also realized that I need to forgive myself. Forgive myself for trusting her so blindly, for not seeing the signs sooner. Forgive myself for sticking around for so long after I started to feel that something was wrong. It's a process, and I'm nowhere near done, but I know I have to do it if I want to heal fully. Holding on to guilt or regret only keeps me tied to the past, and I refuse to be a prisoner of what happened anymore. I won't lie, some days are still brutal. I still have moments where I feel like crying, where I wonder if I could have done something differently. But I keep reminding myself that I was living with lies for too long. That's not my fault. I was blind, but now I see everything clearly. It's a painful lesson, but a necessary one, because now I know what I deserve: honesty, loyalty, and respect. And if I don't get those, I'll walk away without looking back. Now I'm just focused on rebuilding my life one step at a time. No rushing. No rushing into anything. Just getting stronger, learning to trust myself again, and making sure that I never allow anyone to treat me like that ever again. That's the real lesson I'm taking from this. Sometimes you have to lose everything to realize what truly matters. And now I've got that clarity. I'm ready to move on, no matter how much it hurts. It's been a long road I've traveled since I first discovered Lisa's lies. Honestly, I never thought I'd be in this situation, feeling so broken and betrayed by someone I loved so deeply. But looking back now, I realize that this experience, as painful as it's been, has forced me to confront parts of myself I never knew existed: strength, resilience, and a newfound sense of self-worth. I've come to understand that some betrayals cut so deep, they reshape you. They strip away the illusions you carried and leave you with the raw, unfiltered truth. For me, the truth was undeniable. Lisa was manipulative, selfish, and willing to destroy everything we built just for her own pleasure. My brother Jake was no better, complicit, selfish, a traitor to his own family. That kind of betrayal is almost impossible to forgive, but I've learned to accept it. I decided to cut all ties with both of them. No more excuses, no more justifications. I've blocked her number, her social media, everything that connected us. I want no part of that world anymore. I've started focusing on myself, my health, my career, my happiness. I've been working out, reconnecting with old friends, even picking up hobbies I'd abandoned. Little by little, I'm rebuilding who I am from the ground up. The hardest part was forgiving myself, for trusting her so blindly, for not seeing the signs earlier. But I've realized that forgiveness isn't about excusing what she did. It's about freeing myself from the bitterness and anger that threatened to consume me. I believe that forgiving her means letting go of the pain, the resentment, and the hope that she'd somehow change. I have to accept that some people are just toxic, and no amount of love or effort can fix that. Most importantly, I've learned to love myself again, to see my worth. I no longer see myself as a fool or someone who was weak for trusting her. Instead, I see someone who was naive but also strong enough to walk away. That's a victory I didn't think I'd find in all this mess. I realize now that happiness isn't about fixing someone else's brokenness. It's about knowing when to walk away and focus on your own healing. This entire experience has taught me that betrayal can come from the most unexpected places. That sometimes the people closest to you, the ones you trust the most, can turn out to be the biggest liars. But it's also taught me that I have control over my life. I can choose to let this define me or to use it as a catalyst for growth. I choose growth. I choose to be better, stronger, more cautious, and more aware. I still have moments of bitterness, of sadness, but they're less frequent now. I've started looking forward again, to new beginnings, to better days. I know I'll never forget what happened, but I also know I won't let it ruin me. I've learned that the only person responsible for my happiness is me, no one else. And that's a lesson I'll carry for the rest of my life. So here's what I want to say to anyone reading this who might be going through something similar. Trust yourself. Pay attention to the red flags. Don't ignore the small signs that something's wrong. And most importantly, never let anyone make you feel guilty for walking away from a toxic, dishonest relationship. You deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect. Don't ever settle for less. Because at the end of the day, your happiness and self-respect are what truly matter.